So, which is the best buy you can make? How you doing, guys? Professor EDC with another BLADE-OSOPHY Sunday, and let's talk about the best buys we can make. Now, there's different types of purchases that we can make, right? But I think amongst the different type of buys, we may be window shopping, or we may be eBay shopping, eBay window shopping, Amazon window shopping, etc., etc., knife center window shopping. But I think that the best buy that we can make is the one that is planned. And for that type of buy, well, what do we need in order to make a buy like that, a purchase like that? And what we need is a characteristic that is important in all the aspects of our lives, and one that has been more and more difficult for the BLADE-OSOPHY Sundays. And I mentioned that because with less time, with a new job and all, that is taking a lot of my time during the week, and then with the magazine, the Blade magazine I've started, and writing articles, well, that takes also time, and so it takes time out of other activities, right? And it has become more difficult to plan my topics for the Sundays, for the BLADE-OSOPHY Sundays. And I sit here in a stump, and I become kind of exasperated and desperate of not coming up with a topic. And yes, I do have a notebook with a bunch of topics that I have to develop, but then again, topics, like I said, topics that I have to develop, that I have to do some research, and that takes time. And so right now I'm having to rely on my experience, on what I know, to more or less find a topic that is of interest, and that can be related to one thing or the other. And well, this time what I came up with, it's what's the best buy you can make. And no, it's not on a Black Friday, and no, it's not on a sale, but a different, just many conditions that are sitting on a very strong base, or a very strong basis, that is patience and planning. Yes, I think that the best buy that we can make, the best buy that you can make, and the best buy or purchase that I've made are planned knives. And when you plan to buy something, that usually takes some time. Planning takes some time, and for that you need to be organized, and you need to be have a little patience. Yep, just like the old song, just a little patience. Absolutely. And you can hear my dog just waiting for me to throw the frisbee at her. It's a Malinois, and man, she's obsessed with the frisbee. Anyways, whether we are enthusiasts, whether we are collectors, whether we are users or not users, doesn't matter. I think that the best buys, because it's seldomly, that we can catch one of those Spyderco drops, which I always forget their name. This special edition drops, and that really, at least to me, they really don't matter. Of course, I would love to have a shaman in M4 or in crewwear, but I'm not going to waste my life, fighting over it, or just, I'm just not going to waste my life over that. I already have a good enough shaman in S30V, but and if you're lucky enough to catch a special drop like that, well, kudos to you. But again, and I know sometimes I'm a pretty anxious, desperate person. I've had to learn to be patient over time, and it's something that it's quite hard. It's not as easy as it looks. It's not as easy as you may say it like that, but it's it's not as easy as just saying. You just gotta be patient. Yeah, and patience is tested in different manners, in different ways, and for example, when I waited for, and that's the knife that took the longest, it took about a year to get here. You know what I'm talking about. If you've been following since the beginning, and that would be my XM18 that I got from Metal Complex, and that thing took almost a year, at least. Was it a year or a year and a half? Don't recall, but it took at least a year to get here. To get here in a safe way, because back then I didn't know which would be the safest way to ship down here, because it's always dangerous. It's always a coin toss if your knife is gonna get here or not. Even if you ship through FedEx or DHL or whatever, UPS, there's always the possibility that it's gonna get lost, or in other words, it's gonna get stolen. So so I had to be patient. I had to be patient for that. And that, I think, taught me a big lesson in the knife collecting, knife buying world. And that is planning my purchases. And for that, another thing that you really have to think about is getting out of the hype and waiting, and not being worried about having the newest and the finest, because the finest can only really be finest once time has gone by, and the time-tested knives are the finest, not the new ones. Because they might have a nice design, right? They might have nice materials, but what about performance? What about the test of time? We are paying top dollar for many of these knives, and are they worth it? in the beginning, I think most knives, most folders out there are going to be, they're going to be worth it. The first instances, right? But will they be worth, I don't know, 10 years later? This is still worth what I paid for 10 years later. And you can see I've had to sharpen it quite a few times. Still worth it. What about this? Well, this I think can be a heirloom. This I think is going to last generations ahead, perhaps. But that's another thing we have to consider and think about, right? The test of time. And that takes patience. So we got new stuff that is fantastic, really fantastic, like this Factor, Tinkerbell, as I've excuse me, as I've come to call it. Yeah, that Tinkerbell. So, what is the best buy? The buy that you have thoroughly thought about, that you have thoroughly investigated, done your homework and your research, and you're convinced that's the best buy. And yes, we may have a surprise buy, a surprise purchase that with a discount and all of the everything came together, the universe came together to be at the right place at the right time and buy the right knife. Yeah, how many times does that happen? So I believe mostly in planning and in doing research and being patient. And then no matter what, if it's new, if it's a new model, if it's an older model, we're going to be making the right decision or the better decision. And isn't that so as well in life? If we want to escalate in a job, if we want to get a raise, if we want to get a higher position, whatever it is, if we have a plan, if we're patient, if we have the elements, the necessary elements, if we have saved, we can always make it happen. Isn't that so? Or what do you guys think? Hope you enjoyed it. Have a wonderful week ahead. Professor EDC out.